My name is Emily. I'm a certified mobile RV repair tech, and I normally make my money by driving around in this beat up C2500 and helping people fix their RVs, like this air conditioner, for instance. In the beginning of July, I managed to make $9,354 in just 2 weeks without having to leave my house and fix a single RV. Here's a public document about how I did it, so you can learn from my successes and failures. And don't worry, there have been plenty of failures so far. You have to sell something to make money. If I wasn't out there fixing RVs, what did I sell? Well, I made an online course teaching people how to fix their RVs all on their own. The main course was 4 weeks long, where I went live every Monday to talk about a different appliance. And then I took the recordings of those lives and made them available for anyone who had signed up so they could watch the replays to their heart's content. I also made a private community for anybody who signed up where they could ask their questions, whatever they came up for them, especially if they couldn't make it to the live classes. But in the end, that was like the main gist of the course. 4-hour blocks with me teaching you about appliances. That was the main bulk of my time. And this is really something anyone could do, especially if you have a service-based business. If you already have a business up and running, then you already know that you have some sort of skill or knowledge that other people want because they're paying for you to do it now. So there's a good chance that they would pay you to teach them how to do it. I see a big myth going through the internet right now that the only way to make money online is to teach people how to make money online. And I can see how it comes off like that, but I made a course that was not about making money. It was about fixing RVs. So I'm hoping that helps bust some of that myth. If this is something that you're interested in doing, making your own course, even if you are not teaching people how to make money, as long as you are teaching something that people want to know, there's a good chance that you could make money selling that course, which is what I did. And here are 5 of the main lessons that I learned along the way. They are currently doing major construction on the road outside of my house, so we're gonna move. Hopefully this is a little quieter. The first main lesson that you're gonna learn along the way is about pricing. What I decided to charge for my course, which was again, 4 about an hour-long videos and access to a community where you could ask questions and I would answer them. I ended up charging $297 for the whole thing. And it took a lot of hemming and hawing back and forth to decide on that price. I also gave people who were already on my email list before I even thought about making this course a chance to get on a wait list. And then only people who were on that wait list got the opportunity to sign up for the course a week earlier than the public did, and they got access to a coupon code to get $50 off. So anyone on that wait list could get the course for $247 as opposed to $297. In the end, I had 3 people sign up early from that wait list, which made me a total of $741 week 1. And then week 2, when it opened up to the public, I ended up having 29 people pay in full. So I made $8,600 week 2. Add those 2 numbers up, and that's where I got that roughly $9,000 number. When it comes to deciding the pricing for your course, big takeaway, you can honestly charge whatever the heck you want, as long as you can find a way to justify the price to a customer. You just need to find some way to make the customer feel like they are getting a deal. So for instance, some people might consider paying $300 for a month-long course really expensive. Whereas the way that I pitched it was that there is a big box camping store near me called Camping World, who, if you're not in the RV space, is like the Walmart of RVing. They sell RVs, service, repairs, all kinds of stuff like that. And they're like everywhere. You can find them all over the country. But they charge a $500 minimum for mobile work. So I was able to say, hey, if you pay less than what these guys are going to charge for just one call, you can learn how to avoid having to pay thousands of dollars in RV repairs. So you pay $300 once and avoid having to pay thousands of dollars across the lifetime of your RV. And that's how I was able to pitch it to make the customer feel like they were getting a deal. Other ways I could have pitched it, I currently charge for the first hour of my time, if you call me as a mobile tech, $250. I have a $100 service charge for me to drive out to you, and then $150 an hour. So you're essentially getting 4 hours of my time plus the time that I was spending in the community. So about $1,000 worth of my time for less than $300. Again, you just need to be able to find some way to pitch that the price that you are charging is a deal to the customer. Make them an offer that's so good they would feel silly for not paying for it. Service-based industries, this can be really easy. You have already put a value on your time. Again, I was charging $250 for 1 hour of my time, so it was really easy to say, hey, you're getting this much of my time, which would normally cost this much, and instead it's only going to cost you this much. Everyone feels like they're getting a deal. If you are hemming and hawing about different things to charge and you're doing your research, seeing what other people are charging, I would recommend leaning on the lower end of things. So at one point I was thinking about charging around $500 for this course, and I ended up coming down to the less than $300 mark. This is because it's always easier to increase your pricing later, but it can be hard to justify to older customers why other people are now getting the same product for a cheaper price. They're going to feel like they got gypped. So start off low so you can always go up. Another reason I wanted to be on the lower end, I know $300 is still a good chunk of change, but it's not $500, $800, $1,000 plus that a lot of people charge for courses, is because I genuinely wanted to get a good chunk of people to go through this course so that way I could get feedback, because this was my first time doing something like this. Later down the road, I can optimize this whole product for profit, where I'm okay having fewer people sign up because I've increased the price enough to make it worth it. Right now, I'm fine with making less per customer and having a lot of people go through so I could get a lot of people's feedback so I could then make the product as good as possible later. If this is your first time doing something like this, get yourself at a price point where many people can sign up so that way you can get some feedback on your course. Nothing is going to be perfect the first time you do it, and you're going to want people to be able to tell you what you can do better later. Lesson number 2, create a freebie to help promote your course. Think about what your future customer would need to know in order to purchase your course, and then make a freebie that teaches them that and give it away for free. So for instance, in order to learn how to fix the appliances in your RV, you kind of already need to know how to use a multimeter. It's really hard to simultaneously be teaching how to set your multimeter to resistance and be teaching how to use that resistance test on a compressor. You kind of need to know one before you can do the other. So I made a freebie that walked people through all the settings on their multimeter and showed them different things they could use those tests on around their RV. This freebie allowed me to kill a whole bunch of birds with just one stone. First of all, it allowed me to build that know, like, trust factor that you need in order to have people buy from you. If you've never heard about this, it's this idea that before someone will buy from you, they need to know you, they need to like you, and they need to trust you. And the freebie accomplishes all of that with just one item. So first, it helps spread awareness about you because you have something to talk about. Then it helps people like you more because you gave them something for free. And 3, it helps people trust you because you said you were going to give them something. You then back up your promise and actually give them the item. And then once they go through the freebie, they realize that it actually has all of the information that you said would be there, and that information was good and helpful. So now that they trust that you're a person of your word, you actually do what you say you're going to do. The freebie also helps increase your customer base because it is increasing the number of people who are qualified to buy your product. So when we think about all of the people that might potentially buy whatever your course is selling, it's not like it's going to be applicable to every person in the world. So for me, for instance, we could look at the whole population of the world. We're already narrowing it down to just people who own RVs. And then from there, we're narrowing down even further to people who own RVs and speak English. And then from there, I'm narrowing down even further to RV owners who speak English and know how to use a multimeter. So we can be getting pretty niche here. So if I teach some RV owners who speak English how to use a multimeter, I'm expanding that circle of people who might potentially buy my course, which is exciting. Overall, I found that making this how to use your multimeter freebie really helped people learn more about me, learn more about RVing, got people excited about fixing things in their RV by themselves, and was a great runway to the paid course. My biggest tip, if you decide to make a freebie to help launch your course or get people excited about it, is to give it a sexy name of some sort. So for instance, my freebie was just teaching people how to use their multimeters in their RV, which is a very long and not very exciting name. So that's not what I called it. Instead, I called it the How to Save $5,000 in Your RV Challenge. So not everyone who owns an RV might be excited about using a multimeter, but everyone who owns an RV is going to be excited about saving money. Sell them on the thing that they definitely want, and then pepper in the things that they actually need. Make sense? Alex Hormozy calls this like selling the vacation, not the plane ride. So for instance, if you were like selling a vacation, you might talk about the sandy beaches and having a margarita on the ocean and relaxing by the pool and things like that. What you're not going to talk about is like having to pack and get on the plane and waiting in traffic. Those are all things that are a part of the vacation, but those aren't the parts you're trying to sell. You're trying to sell them on the dream, the vacation, the sandy beaches. The same's going to go for your freebie. Sell them on saving money in their RV, never having to call a tech again, feeling independent in their RV again, feeling confident in their RV again. Once they're excited about all of those things, then they're going to be down for learning about the meat and potatoes that you need to teach them. They're excited about saving money, so they're more excited about learning how to use a multimeter. Or if I just tried to sell them on the multimeter part, I'd have much fewer people signing up for that freebie and much fewer people getting excited about fixing their RVs and potentially buying my course down the road. Sell the vacation, not the plane ride. Lesson number 3, you want to be spending as much, if not more time, marketing the product or the course, then you spend time on the actual course itself. So if you want to know about how I launched and marketed my course, I basically followed the launch calendar put out by Modern Millie, who's another YouTuber talking about like how to grow on YouTube and Instagram. Really liked her launch calendar and just sort of modified it a bit for what would work for me. So I know it's a little tricky to read, but basically took out this big piece of paper, broke it up into the 5 weeks leading up to the course launch. So week number 5 was actually the week that cart opened, and the 4 weeks leading up to it were me just getting people excited and pumped about signing up for the course. It was 4 weeks of excitement and then 1 week of selling. And then this week, week 4 was the week that I opened up the cart for the course just to my wait list. And then week 5 was when the cart opened up to the public and to anyone who wasn't on that wait list. What this looks like for me was someone who has a YouTube channel and an Instagram and Facebook presence was every Thursday, I was coming out with another video on YouTube. It was like a long form video that was like 10 to 15 minutes long. That was part of a series going through that $5,000 challenge. I basically would take the different parts of that freebie that I had put together, expanded each of those parts out, and made them into 5 separate videos. So I had 5 weeks of getting my YouTube channel excited about this $5,000 challenge. And then in the final video, I just did a little pitch at the end about the course. For Instagram and Facebook, I made a whole bunch of shorts and posts, again, about that freebie and expanding on different parts of the freebie that went out all throughout the 4 weeks that led up to the final week when cart opened. So really throughout these 4 weeks, I wasn't talking about the course at all. I was just talking about that freebie and getting people excited about the freebie. Then finally, when week 5 came up and the cart opened, that's when I was finally like, hey, if you've been enjoying what we've been talking about this month, here's an opportunity to learn even more. Well, I'm super excited about how this launch went, and it greatly went above and beyond my expectations. When I first decided that this was something I was going to do, my goal was to try to get 10 people to sign up. I told my boyfriend, if I can get 10 people, I will consider it a success. So the fact that I got over 30 was just above and beyond anything I could have dreamed of. But there's definitely things looking back on it that I could have done better. And I will know for next time. The first big thing is I wish that I had pushed my waitlist people a lot more than I did. For background, I emailed my waitlist on the 1st of the month and told them, hey, I'm gonna be opening a cart for a new course at the end of this month. And here's how to get on the wait list. Here's why you might want to be on the wait list. Namely, you're going to get early access and you're going to be able to save $50. If that sounds interesting to you, click this button and you'll be added to the wait. I think I mentioned the wait list maybe once or twice more to people on my email list as the month went on, but they were very soft pitches. It was me talking about either the freebie or something else entirely, and then just like in a PS on the email being like, hey, PS, don't forget, if you want to sign up for the wait list, that's something that you can do. Okay. So I didn't really push that wait list a whole lot. And then even once we got to the week that cart opened up for the wait list, which was week 4 here, I think I sent maybe 3 emails to the people on the wait list total. Partially why I think signups off of that wait list were so low. So I think I had over 20 people sign up for the wait list, and only 3 people actually buy the course from that waitlist. I think I was nervous to be sending out too many emails, especially because this was my first time actually pitching and promoting something to my email list, and I didn't want to overdo it, that I think I probably underdid it, especially for these waitlist people. Like, if someone has signed up for the waitlist for something, it means they're excited about it. So I really wish that I had helped build that excitement during that week and gotten more people to sign up then. That's one big quote unquote failure that I think I could have done better. And then it's probably a similar story for the actual week that cart opened and everything was open to the public. I did talk about the course a lot more during that week to the public than I did to my waitlist people during their sort of like secret waitlist week. But I still feel like I could have done more. I was basically putting out one short or reel, basically vertical short form content each day that was pushing towards the course, being like, hey, if you want to learn more, go here. I think I might even miss today. Like, I think Wednesday I didn't get a post up, which is wild now looking back on it, like how much work I put into it. And then I let a whole day go by without mentioning this thing that I'd been working on so hard. And I think I sent out probably 3 or 4 emails during this week pushing people towards signing up for the course, being like, here's what the course is going to be, here's what it's going to look like, here's why you might want to sign up. But I definitely also missed some days. Most people who are talking about launching are like, you need to be sending at least one email every day during launch week, and I definitely missed a couple days. So who knows? If I had sent out more emails, maybe I could have gotten more people to sign up. Again, I think I was feeling a little trigger shy about talking too much about this and boring people and overwhelming people and making them think I was just talking all about myself. But the whole reason that you've gained followers on Instagram or YouTube or gotten people on an email list is eventually so you can sell them something. Like, I love providing free value, but in the end, the reason why I do that is so eventually in the long run, I can make money down the road somehow. So that's the whole reason you've been doing all of this. Don't be afraid to actually sell when it's time to sell. That's why you put in all of this effort to put out a bunch of free content. So that way you've earned the right to try to push something towards them. It doesn't feel like a hard sell because it's not coming out of nowhere and you've already given them so much for free. I really had earned the right to try to push something, and I don't think I took as much of an advantage of it as I should have. But you live and you learn. One big success that I did have during this launch, beyond just getting 3 times the number of people that I was hoping for to sign up, was I added a sense of urgency to the launch and to the cart closing, which again was something I was nervous to do. I didn't want it to come off as like some salesy, icky sales tactic. But all I said was, hey, class starts Monday, I think it was July 8th. So the cart for this has to close July 7th. I have to have the cart close in order for the class to open. And so on almost every bit of content I did promoting the course, I was like, hey, just so you know, cart's closing in 4 days, 3 days, 2 days, tomorrow. And I was steadily getting more and more people sign up as we got closer and closer to that deadline. I had seen a lot of people who talk about how to launch things online, talk about how you're going to get this big rush of people at the end and that the last day is going to be your biggest sales day. And I was like, that sounds fake. That was the case for me. So like I said, I had 30 people sign up. 10 of those people were on the final day. So the last day they could possibly sign up. And I want to say like 7 of those people did it very last minute, like right before midnight hit. Because I went to bed being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got over 20 people to sign up for this thing. And then when I woke up, over 30 people had signed up and I was totally blown away. Like I was so happy when I went to bed and then I woke up and my mind was blown. That's just something to know if you've been doing research on how to do a launch and you've heard people talking about how the last day is going to be the biggest sale day and you're like, that sounds fake. I have no skin in this game. I'm not trying to sell you a course on how to launch things. I'm just telling you my own personal experience, and that was definitely the experience that I had. So do not get discouraged halfway through the launch if you haven't hit whatever sales goal you had. I know it's scary because you're like having to wait till the last minute, but know that that last day is going to be a huge sale rush for you. This is also why I wish that I had pushed more during the waitlist week, so that way I didn't feel as nervous during the sales week that I wasn't hitting my goal yet and I hadn't reached that 10 people that I wanted. If I had already hit 10 off of the wait list, then the sales week just would have felt like extra, as opposed to feeling really nervous all through the sales week because I hadn't hit 10, and then all of a sudden getting this like big sense of calm on the last day when I all of a sudden got to 30. There was a lot learned during this launch. The fourth big lesson that I learned in all of this is to kick perfection out the door. Your goal, if this is like the first course you have ever made, is not to make the best course you can possibly do. Just take that whole notion, stomp on it, kick it to the curb, throw it in the trash. It's just not possible. Our goal instead should be to create a minimum viable product. This is a term from business schools, okay? Our goal is to create a product that is just good enough to be sellable. This is for a variety of reasons. One, it's actually gonna get you off the couch and actually do the dang thing. Otherwise, you're gonna get stuck in perfectionist hell, trying to make an absolutely perfect thing and never quite getting to perfect, so you never actually launch it and you never actually see if it's good. Secondly, we don't actually want to try to create a perfect product. We want to create a product that is just good enough to get to market, so then we can actually get feedback on it and find out if it's actually good or not. The main goal with the first round of the launch is to just have a proof of concept, prove that this is a thing that people actually want and will pay money for. We don't want to accidentally dump a whole bunch of time and effort and essentially money, because time is money, into something and then find out after putting months and months of effort in that it's not actually something that the market wants or that people want. This is why, like, in the future, I would love for my course to all be shots of me with my nice clean background and the appliance on a desk and me walking you through with multiple shots, showing you close-ups and far-aways and having graphics fly in and out of the screen. But that wasn't going to be what I was going to do for my first time round on this course. Instead, I did 4 live classes off of slides that I made in Keynote. Those slides were really good slides, and I put a lot of time and effort into them, but it was still less effort than it would take me to film all of the B-roll and lighting and everything it would take for me to have like my perfect dream video course on this. So I would highly recommend, if this is your first time putting on a course like this, doing your videos either live or like one-shot videos with very minimal editing. Again, we just want to get the product out there. We will work on perfecting it later. I would recommend, if you decide that you are going to pre-record instead of doing lives, still having some sort of live chat or live way to check in with people who have signed up for your course, so that way you can get feedback from them. Again, part of the whole reason you want to do this for the first time, and why we probably did it for a lower price point that we will in the future, and why we're trying to get as many people through as possible, is so we could get feedback. So that way we can later make it better. But if you're just making this thing on your own in a vacuum, you don't know what people are going to want from it. So get that feedback. Have a way built into the course to get feedback from your customers. Because I did all of my lessons live, I was getting live feedback in the chat with people's questions. I knew almost immediately when I hadn't explained something well, because I would get an influx of questions from the chat. But if I was sitting there plugging along teaching and I wasn't having questions come in even when I was asking for them, then I knew that I'd explained that pretty well. A note about doing live video, if that's something you're considering doing, it still took me a lot more effort to do those lives than I was expecting. In my head, I was like, oh yeah, I'll do 4 lives. And so I just need to make sure that I dedicate 1 hour each week to this. In reality, it took me each week probably 2 to 3 hours to make the slides for my hour-long lesson. And that was just creating all the graphics for the slides. To be fair, the thing I was teaching was pretty technical, so it took me a lot of time to like get good pictures of each part, make sure I was really showing what I wanted to show. I had probes coming in for the multimeter, showing where to put them. Like, what I was showing was pretty technical, so my slides probably took longer to make than if you were doing or teaching something maybe less nitty-gritty technical than I was, but it was still a pretty good amount of time each week that I had to dedicate to that. Then I would practice presenting the lesson at least twice, usually 3 times, before showtime on Monday. So that was another 2 to 3 hours each week that I was dedicating just to practicing. This is so I would feel comfortable knowing which slide was coming, and in the presenting of it, I would figure out what I was missing and what additional slides I would need. So just know, just because you're doing the videos live does not mean that this is going to mean significantly less prep. In fact, I was probably doing more prep for the videos than if I had just pre-recorded them. On the back side, I was like, oh, I'll do these live so that way I won't have to do any editing, and I'll save myself so much time editing because they're just all going to be live. And I ended up having to spend several hours the next day each week cleaning up the video to get it to a point I felt comfortable uploading it to the class for the replay. It was just a matter of like moving around people's questions, because occasionally people would ask a question out of the blue that had something to do with like way earlier that we had talked about. So I would take that question, cut it out, put it in where it actually made sense to be asked, and also just cleaning up the audio and the video a bit better, and fixing any times where the audio had dropped out. So if you have never done a live production before online, just know, especially if you don't have like fancy equipment made for going live, like a nice quality webcam, you are probably still gonna have to spend time editing that live to make it clean enough to that you feel comfortable uploading it as a replay. So in the end, doing the lessons live probably took the same amount of time, if not more, than if I had done pre-recorded videos, but it did keep me to a hard deadline. Whereas if I had done pre-recorded videos, I probably would still be working on those videos, trying to make them perfect, knowing that no matter what, I was going live, I was putting in the work each week to make sure I was ready for that live. So you just need to decide what's gonna work better for you. Looking back on it, I'm still glad that I did it live. One, just to get myself out of my comfort zone and try something new. Two, I loved getting the live feedback from students as I went through and knowing immediately if I had explained something in a way that made sense or it didn't. But it did take me more time than I was expecting going into it. And the final main lesson that I learned after going through all of this process for the first time is a little bit more philosophical, I guess. But sometimes you need to just stop learning and start doing. I have been listening to podcasts and reading books about how to run an online course for over 5 years now, which is absurd now looking back on it. I remember listening to podcasts about how to market an online course back when I was at my 9-to-5 pre-COVID. And I was like, oh, that seems like something cool to do in the future. And I remember when I was going to school to learn how to be an RV tech, turning to my mom and being like, yeah, I think I could put an online course and I could teach this in a different way than they're teaching and to a different demographic. As I was at school 2 years ago. But I've learned about myself through this process that I have a tendency to try to over-prepare as an excuse for actually doing the damn thing. So it's much easier to listen to another podcast or read another book than to actually put yourself out there and say, hey world, I'm doing a thing. And it may not work and it's terrifying, but I'm doing it. And I think I finally realized after years and years and years of just listening to podcasts that I was eventually just avoiding doing this thing that if I didn't do it now, I just was never going to do it. So after doing a little soul searching, here are some of the signs that I have found that it's time to put down the podcast and pick up the pen, if you will. Number one, if in your podcasting and YouTube watching, you are looking up general topics again, as opposed to the answers for specific problem. I now like to think of this as the hourglass of research. So you started out up here learning generally about this thing that you might want to do. For me, it was make an online course. For you, it might be learn how to sew a dress, learn how to backpack through Europe, hike the Appalachian Trail. You're just becoming generally aware that this is a thing that you might want to do, and it's possible. Somebody's done it. Then, as you listen to all of these podcasts, read these books, watch YouTube videos, your research is going to get more and more specific. So I was learning about how to grow an email list, how to grow on YouTube, how to launch a course, what platform was best to put all of these products on, Squarespace versus Kajabi and things like that. If you're learning about hiking the Appalachian Trail, you might be learning about the best times of year to do this hike, what type of gear you're going to need, figuring out the logistics for this hike. You're getting narrower and narrower in your research and more niche and specific. But eventually, as you're learning about more and more niche topics, you're going to realize that this thing was probably harder than you first realized. And so at least what I found myself doing is generalizing my research back out in an attempt for it to feel easier again. I want to feel as excited about this thing as I first did when I first learned it was a thing. So all of a sudden I was listening to podcasts again about how cool of an idea it is to make an online course, even though I had already heard like 3 different podcasts telling me the exact same thing. I was just generalizing back out because I was too scared to actually implement what I had learned. Now, as soon as I feel myself generalizing back out, I know it's time to actually shit or get off the pot. It's time to do the damn thing. Sign number 2 that it's time to actually do it is you're hearing the same tips over and over and over again. You keep trying to find one more podcast or one more YouTube video, hoping that they're going to tell you some tip or some trick that you haven't heard yet. You think there's some secret to everything that you just don't know. And the truth is, the reason why you keep hearing the same tips is not because people are holding the good secrets away from you. It's because those are the tips that you need to hear. You've learned the lesson. Now it's time to go implement it. And then the third sign I found that it's time to actually do the damn thing is you're learning about step 17 when you haven't even taken step 1. So part of me trying to generalize back out in that hourglass I was talking about was all of a sudden I was trying to learn, how could I scale this course? And what will it look like when I have thousands of people that have gone through it? And I'm like, Emily, you haven't even made the damn course. Make the course, then learn about step 72. But I wanted to know about like every step of the process before I even took step 1. So if you're trying to figure out what you're going to do 5 years from now, but you still haven't taken the step that you need to do day 1, pretty big sign, it's time to stop listening to podcasts. And it's time to actually just do the dang thing. This has been a really big life lesson for me. I've actually unsubscribed to like half of the podcasts that I was following because I found that I kept using them as a distraction from actually doing the things that I needed to do. It was way more comfortable to be told what to do than to actually do the damn thing. Big life lesson there. Still trying to teach myself that one every day. So now that I've actually done the dang thing, what are my next steps? Well, the course itself went on through all of July, and I just finished the final live class 2 days ago. I'm recording this on a Wednesday. The last lesson, which was on air conditioners, was on Monday. So I'm giving myself some time off. Actually, next week, I'm going out of state for a week-long vacation that is much deserved. But when I come back, I'm gonna spend a good chunk of August just trying to clean up those recordings a little bit and then sell the recordings of the classes as a whole separate product. I'm not going to clean them up too much because I am not going to fall down the rabbit hole of trying to make this thing perfect. Perfectionism is just masked insecurity, but I do want to give them like one more look through, just make sure that they are clean and presentable and there's no glitches or anything. And then I'm going to do a launch very similarly to what I did for the live course for the pre-recorded course, and see if I can't get another influx of cash before I make my next decision about what I want to do with this course. I sort of have 2 paths that I can go down, and I'm not quite sure which one is going to be right for me. I can either slowly over time make this thing the most perfect course on how to fix your RV possible and like slowly increase the price over time until it's like in the $800 to $1,000 range. Or I can try to keep it in this like $200 to $500 range that's much more accessible to people and have a lot more customers at a much lower price point, as opposed to few customers at a higher price point. There's pros and cons to each, and I haven't quite decided which one is going to be the right choice for me, but I don't need to make that decision yet because I'm working on step 5, not step 17. Yes, I've been listening to podcasts about this. It's what I do, but not too many. I'm gonna listen and then act. That's the goal. But yeah, I hope you found this helpful. I know there's a lot of people online talking about, here's how I made $1 million selling my online course about how to make $1 million. And I just wanted to give like ground to earth advice from someone who was selling a course that I think genuinely is providing useful information that people need, is not a scam, and genuinely made me a decent chunk of change. Like I almost made $10,000 just off of this one product alone. And I can definitely see ways where I could make more money off of it in the future. And that is genuinely something a normal person with knowledge in their brain can do. This has been RV Repairwoman. You got this.